Welcome to Impolite MTG,
where we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering.
and we're not always going to be nice about it.
I'm Chris Kthnxluvubai, Canadian logger.
Hey, I'm Dave, Guru of S'mores.
Hey Dave, are you ready to start the video?
Hold on, I'm texting this hot Tinder date.
5 minutes later.
Dave, goddamn dude, hurry up. We're supposed to have started the video already.
Oh shit, sorry.
Shit like this is really annoying. I guess this is a good time to bring up the subject of this week's video. We're going to be talking about pet peeves while playing Magic.
Yeah, and we've got quite a few of them, so let's get into it. And I'll start off with the overarching theme of distracted players. What we mean is, people who are on their phone or playing a game, generally not being actively engaged in the game at hand.
Yeah.
One of my specific pet peeves is when people do this and then they complain about having the ability to respond to triggers.
Pay attention, find out what's going on, respond to the trigger. Don't expect us to warn you that, priorities being passed here.
Exactly.
If you're not paying attention.
Yeah, and then don't try and go back and I could have responded to that. I'm like, well, you didn't. You're on your phone, so I guess that's just a missed trigger on your part. Tough on you, bud.
Yeah.
And then the next point that I want to get into is people talking to others outside the game, not necessarily about the game itself. That's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, and it's something that I'm guilty of. So I'm not excusing myself from some of these complaints. We're not perfect.
I played Magic at my friend's house quite often growing up in high school. Or their parents would come into the room all the time and talk to them for whatever reason. It happens. We get it. Sometimes it's important. Sometimes it can wait the 5-10 minutes to finish up a turn or the last couple moves of the game. Just kind of prioritize it. Figure out what's going on. And if this is an important conversation or if you can skip over it.
Exactly.
This kind of leads into cell phone use. If you're texting, if you're using your Game Boy or your DS or whatever, anything ungame related, put the electronic away. If you're looking up a ruling because you get a weird interaction.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, stuff like that, that's perfectly fine. But what we're talking about is
if you're using the Light Tracker app,
yeah, but if you bust out your Nintendo DS because I'm over here playing Tatyoba taking a 20-minute turn or Chris is storming off, that's where we have a bit of a problem with it.
True story. I've seen this happen.
Don't do shit like that.
Yeah.
When we say don't use your electronics, that's what we're referring to.
It's about respect to the other players, which kind of also leads us into respect to the play space.
Yeah, and by this, we'll get into our next pet peeve, and this is a big one for me. Food and drinks on the table. Look, some new players, for example, they might not always have sleeves. Don't be eating your greasy cheeseburger and then touch my fucking cards. And don't leave your big gulp sitting on the table just being an accident waiting to happen.
Not all of us double sleeve our cards. So if that big gulp spills over and gets into my card, I'm going to be pissed.
Even if it's a bottle of water that has a cap, incidents could still happen. It could still end up getting knocked over. Maybe you didn't screw on the cap all the way. It's not much more effort to just stick it on the side of you on the floor. I do that all the time. I stick my drinks down there, and if I want to sip, I just bend over, I pick it up, I take a sip, I put it back down. It's out of everybody's way. And if it falls over, all it does is create a mess on the floor, which can easily be cleaned up.
It also creates a situation where the food, the mess, whatever, game stores don't like seeing it. I've seen game stores where literally there's a blanket food ban. No one's allowed food in there because people aren't cleaning up after the game.
Yeah.
And, clean up before the game too. Sometimes you're waiting for your friends to show up, meet you there. You just bought yourself, a booster bundle or a booster box. You have packs opened up all over the place. Clean up when your friends get there. No one wants to play in your fucking filthy mess.
Right, yeah, clean up after yourself. It goes back to, respect the play space.
Respect the other players.
Yeah, when it comes to respecting the other players, make your board state layout easy to read. Don't have this weird, awkward board state that nobody can read because, hey, look, I have to sit cross corner from somebody, and if they have their lands over off to the side or they're mixing in their mana rocks with their actual lands, then it's hard to tell that they have mana rocks that you might be able to blow up when you play a,
Shatterstorm.
No, I was going to say Return to Dust.
Yeah.
So if you have your mana rocks mixed in with your lands, and I play a Return to Dust, and I miss it because, hey, you stuck your Soul Ring over with your lands, I might want to exile that, stuff like that.
You can do what I do where I literally have my lands and my mana rocks at the back row, but the mana rocks are over to the side close to where the other artifacts are going to be. Keep the lands and artifacts clearly separated so we can see what's going on, and don't move your mana dorks down to where the lands are. They're creatures first, mana producer second.
That, and, keep your creatures up at the front of the board. Like, for the most part, arrange your board the way you might see it on Arena. Creatures up front, artifacts and enchantments tend to go on the side. I tend to keep mine in the back, in the middle of the playmat, and then I put my lands in the back, up against the back edge of the playmat. That's kind of the default format, and it's what's most easy to read. And that's just to respect everybody's time and be able to easily read somebody else's board without it being this confusing mess because you had to be fucking extra or special and lay your lands out differently.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of leads us to in-game situations. And the very first one is actually before you even play the game, you need to know how your deck works. I play complicated decks. I have a Storm deck, a Cascade deck. I have a Belladros deck that actually has a lot of complicated interactions to it.
Yeah.
If I don't know my Cascade triggers for Apex Devastator with Averna the Chaos Bloom on the field, then everyone's going to struggle here because I need to know that I can get any land of the ones exiled through the Cascade trigger with Averna. And not just like the first one that appears, you can grab any one, and you need to know the sequencing, and you need to know what's going to happen if you cascade into a Storm spell. It creates really weird game states. So you got to pay attention to this sort of stuff. You have to know how your deck works. It's okay if you're borrowing a deck.
Yeah. Or if you just bought a pre-con deck, that's different. We're talking about when you actually built your own deck, you should know how to play it before you actually play the game.
Should also probably, make sure you have everything you need for that deck or for that game state.
So yeah, not having dice when your deck specifically needs dice for +1/+1 encounters, and not having tokens when your deck specifically makes certain kinds of tokens.
Weird tokens.
I'm not talking about okay, you have this random one-off Swan Song in your deck. I'm not saying, okay, you gotta have the bird token. I'm saying your deck makes zombies. For a fact it makes zombies. And then if you don't have any zombie tokens, that's a bit of a dick move because now you're stopping the game. Oh, hey, I need a token. Oh, can I use a dice? No, don't use a dice. Dice are confusing as tokens. My solution is to buy some of the dry erase tokens. Then it's every token you ever need for literally the rest of your life. I actually have some of those, and since I've bought them, I've not played a game of Magic where I did not use them. They are a worthwhile investment.
I typically have a large collection of tokens anyways, and when I build a deck, I make sure all the tokens I need for that deck are in the deck box ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of run into a situation with not having the supplies, but then we have another situation in the game just after the game has started, and it's players who rush other players through turn sequences. Everyone knows about untap, upkeep, draw, main phase, combat, all that stuff. There are triggers that occur throughout the game there that can lead to weird situations. Going back to distracted players, responding to triggers is really important. If you're distracted, you can't respond to it. But if you're a distracted player and another player rushes you through it, you're hooped. You just lost out on an entire interaction in the game that could have saved you from losing the game.
That and rushing through turn sequences is just a sweaty, try-hard way of trying to win the game and not give people their fair chance to actually respond to the things you're doing. And it's kind of a dick way to play. And it's a big reason why I don't play competitive Magic anymore. I'm tired of these idiots. Oh, do this, do that. Hold on, I'm playing blue. I can respond to that. Back up. I'm gonna counter that spell. So no, your next couple of lines of sequence aren't going to work. Slow down there, bucko.
Yeah, the other thing this does is actually lead us into our next point, and this is a big one for Dave.
Oh yeah, this is a huge pet peeve for me. This was the top of the list for me, and that was bad threat assessment. It's a 4-player game. Just because one player was scary at the start of the game doesn't mean they stay scary. You constantly have to reassess the game and figure out who the next existential threat is. Who has the most chance of winning the game and ending your chance to progress your board state.
Yeah, we're not playing sack sex here. Shit actually happens in the game here.
Exactly. And if you're not sure who the threat is, or maybe okay, we dealt with him and you're not sure who the next threat is, sometimes there isn't always a threat. Sometimes everybody's at even keel and you kind of want to just hold back and wait until the next thing comes down that is really actually a problem for you. Don't just pick somebody because oh, well, I don't like that one card you played. Well, that's fine that you don't like my one card that I played, but this guy has a bunch of untapped mana, and he's going to use it for something at some point.
Yeah, and at some point you're going to need to make a deal. You're going to assess a threat, and you're going to have to use politics to get there. Broken political deals, vague conditions on deals, and just not making deals at all for politics. These are all important to the game. Not doing politics, you just guarantee another player to win this way.
Yeah.
Vague conditions, oh, Dave, I have a scheming symmetry. You go search for an answer to this threat, and I'll search for an answer to a threat. Notice the word change there.
Exactly.
This threat versus a threat.
Yeah, and it's a way to leverage your opponents to do the thing you want. Yeah, I play Scheming Symmetry in Kenrith.
The other thing about vague deals is or vague conditions to a deal is it often leads to broken contracts, broken political deals.
Yeah.
And that just makes everyone feel really, really bad at the end of it.
Well, then it also creates trust issues. Like, I'm not going to make a deal with you.
We've heard the prof stories.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a deal with you because you went back on our deals. I'm going to remember that the next time we play. All you're doing is hurting your future potential to win games by people trusting you and making deals with you.
Yeah, and we've all heard about the stories that the professor made and how he used to think it was really, really funny. It's not. It's annoying. It's frustrating. And it can often lead players to doing really insincere, rude things, like deciding to not play anymore.
Yeah, instant speed scoops. Don't be that type of player either. There might be some kind of benefit to scooping an instant speed, like say somebody's going to attack you with a crap ton of life linking creatures. So to like screw them over because you know that they're going to swing it lethal with you, you scoop before combat damage and they don't get the life link.
Yeah, often there are sequences that need to happen for a certain player to win the game. Not even the lifelink example. Like, we're literally talking like, I need to attack this player because he's open and I gain this much mana when I attack him, and then this mana doesn't empty, it phases, whatever, and I cast this big spell that I need to kill the other two players. But that player scoops at instant speed to screw me over. I now can't kill the other two players, and I could lose the game that way.
Yeah, we just got Toski Bearer of Secrets. There are times where swinging out and hitting somebody with a Toski on the battlefield is going to be a huge boon to a player. And if you try to deny them those card draws, that's a pretty dick move.
Big time.
And another dick move is
holding grudges longer than a game or two.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one because like there are different types of grudges you can hold. I personally say one game is fine. You did a move that cost me the game. I'm going to hold that grudge against you that one time, or you won the last game in a spectacular, very unfair way. I can hold the grudge for one game. That's it. No more.
Yeah. And then for me, it's like, okay, you won last game, and then in the next game, it's like, all right, well, I'm the first one who has like a 3-3 out on the battlefield that can swing. Chris, you won the last game. I'm swinging this 3-3 at you just because fuck you, you won. And then after that, I let it go. I don't even hold on to it for that game because, again, this goes back to bad threat assessment. If I'm holding a grudge against Chris and I'm targeting Chris because he won the last game, but Stone over here is popping off and I'm holding a grudge against Chris, that's bad threat assessment. Don't do either of those things for either of those reasons.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like I've been in games, I've dealt with people who held a grudge from 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I don't remember beating you 3 weeks ago. Why do you still care about that?
Yeah, and that's just petty.
Oh, it's big time petty.
Even if it's not game related, if like, oh, you said you were going to help me move my couch last week and then you didn't, so I'm going to beat up on you in this game. Don't bring your personal baggage into the game. That's pretty fucked up too. All of this just comes down to respect the other people at the table, respect the game space, respect the social contract.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that leads us into some of our solutions to how we can maybe deal with some of this stuff.
I think the first one is be firm about boundaries. You need to establish very early on that some of this behavior isn't okay. This is where Rule 0 comes in.
Yeah.
If you're not having that conversation, then someone's still not respecting your boundaries. Or if you are having this conversation, someone's not respecting your boundaries, be an asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck that dude.
And at the end of the day, if you're like, no, it's not okay. Please take your soda off the table. I'm not willing to play Magic with you if you're doing that. Just don't play with these assholes.
That's not always an option, though. I mean, sometimes you're in a small LGS or a personal play group.
For sure. There are those situations, and in that situation, we would defer to the first solution. Just talk to these people and sort out your boundaries and be like, look, I would really appreciate it if you stop sitting on your phone every game and actually paid attention to the game. It'll make the game go a lot quicker, and you'll have more fun because you'll be more engaged. As
for in-game situations, like, Our third solution is talk after games.
Yeah, definitely.
We all have a Rule 0 conversation, or should have a Rule 0 conversation at the start.
But yeah, Rule 0 is like, okay, like, how did that go? How did we feel about that? Because that leads into your next game, which is still Rule 0. Yeah, have a conversation afterwards. And then lastly, remember, it's just a game. We're all here to have fun.
There's no point violating the social contract.
Exactly. Nothing's on the line.
No prizes, no money.
So with the exception for like Commander Leagues or like a Command Zone event where you've actually paid money to get into the event and you actually have something on that line, in that case, bring your stacks deck, bring your best deck, bring whatever it is you feel you deserve to win. But we're talking about just a casual, fun game of Commander at your kitchen table, at the LGS on an afternoon where nothing's on the line.
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk and respect everybody's time and respect the space.
Exactly.
We might call ourselves Impolite MTG, but we are big on respecting other players in an actual game of Commander.
Yeah, we're here to have fun. That's kind of it. Clean up after yourself.
I think that about wraps up this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Chris, what the fuck is this?
What? I don't understand. What's wrong?
That's a can of pop on the table. You have violated the sanctity of Commander. You are henceforth banished to be a filthy, ranked arena grinder.
It was an empty can, though. I'm Criskit.
The Twitter mob doesn't care. You are banished.
Taxis, Canadian Lager.
And I'm Dave, the Lawbringer. Thanks for spending some time with us.
And thanks for watching.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, Dave, what's going on?
Which board wipe floats down a river?
I don't know, Dave. What board wipe floats down a river?
Cyclonic raft.
Oh, God damn it. Never again! You're really putting a rift between us here.
Support those affected.